This is Hospitality and Politics, powered by the New York City Hospitality Alliance. I am Andrew Ridgie, and I am here with the one and only Megan Rickerson of Someday Bar in Brooklyn.
You have a great radio voice.
Thank you. What about a face for TV? What's the joke? You have a great face for radio?
Oh, I have no idea what the joke is. Well, you have both.
Yeah.
You do both.
You're the best. See, exactly why I had you on. Thanks for being here. What's going on?
Nothing.
Yeah.
Outdoor dining stuff and work, and don't know how to dress because it's either 30 degrees or 85 degrees. But,
All right.
New York.
Well, all right. So let's set it up. So I know you very well, but who is Megan Rickerson in your own voice? Who are you?
My God.
Isn't that a tough question?
It is. That is one you should have told me in advance so I can prep for. I don't know. I wish you could ask my staff.
What do you think they'd say?
Hyper organized, driven to a point that I drive myself insane. But I like people. Yeah. I don't know. I generally like people, which is why I'm in hospitality. So I don't know how I explain myself in so many words, but I love the city because I like making friends. I make friends easy. I don't know. You know me. But who am I?
All right. So anyway, you just said, so you were a makeup artist.
Yeah.
And then a bartender?
So grew up in Florida, went to Florida State, started bartending in college, moved to New York to do makeup, managed a bar in Lower East Side, and I was doing like 6 a.m. call times for makeup and then, working until 3 a.m. And it was getting to a point where both things weren't possible. Mm. And my old boss was like, hey, you're like pretty good at this. You should think about doing something with it. And I was really tired of the grind of freelancing, which is funny because I feel like bartenders are like, the grind. But at least with bartending, you can always pick up a shift and you know where your money's coming from. Mm-hmm. I didn't find a lot of safety in freelancing. Yeah. And I loved the ability just to like work as much as I wanted. So after he said that, I kind of shifted into really putting my nose to the ground to like move my way into ownership. And then I did. And I did it right before COVID. I opened Someday Bar, which is, someday I'm going to open a bar. And I just had horrible timing. So, but we're 7 in July.
Wow. Congratulations. So I want to get into the whole kind of like bar owner life and that whole grind. But what about being a bartender? I was just talking with someone the other day that it's like such an interesting perspective being a bartender, kind of like looking out upon people in the bar and all the interactions that you have. It's a really kind of human experience. It's a grind, but like just all the relationships. What did you learn being a bartender, kind of interacting with people?
Well, I'm still a bartender. Mm-hmm. I still work Fridays and I cover shifts. We're pretty small. Which people look at me like I'm crazy, but I was a bartender turned bar owner and I love it. And I also think it's important to keep your finger on the pulse and no shade to anyone out there that owns a bar that's not still bartending, but I just find it so easy to relate to the staff when you're still kind of like in the trenches with them. And I think they also appreciate it because they know that you're going through similar things. So when someone's rude or someone stiffs them or they have to, deal with all these extra things, which is, bartending isn't just pouring drinks. It's keeping people safe and dealing with, difficult customers. And so when you do that with them, I feel like there's this appreciation of, it's not like the owner walking in for an hour and being like, that wine was overpoured.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
Yeah.
So I feel like that's really important to me. But, I've been doing this. I've been working in hospitality since I was like 16 or I was a hostess and then a server and then all the things. And I definitely can read almost anyone that walks through the door. Every once in a while, I'm wrong. But for the most part, with that human experience, experiment that you're talking about, it's like when somebody walks in the door, I'm like, problem. Yeah. You're going to be great. And it's kind of just a gut thing. It's not a science. It's like a feeling. And that carries on into the real world, especially being a bartender in New York. I was a bartender in Florida. You have your own set of problems, but like New York is such a different beast.
Yeah.
There are 7,000 things flying at you instead of 5 things. So it has made me the most hyper aware person being a bartender in New York. And like I said, just you can look at a person and just be like, yeah, I know how this interaction is going to go.
Size them up really quickly.
Yeah,
talking about just the experience, with your team being behind the bar. I feel like every day it's a different news article or different conversation. Like people aren't drinking as much. They're not going out as late. Like everything has changed since the pandemic. What's your experience being behind the bar? Like how much has changed? How much has stayed the same? The rumors that, nightlife like that is dead, overstated. What's your kind of behind the bar perspective?
So things have definitely shifted. We have sold the most amount of non-alc this year than I have ever seen.
Wow.
Cases and cases of, non-alc IPA. We put mocktails on our happy hour for January and February, and they flew. So things are definitely changing, but I have mantra, what you will, is, you can never out food and drink bad hospitality, but you can always out hospitality bad food and drink. Sorry, I was making sure I was saying that right.
You got it.
So we're a neighborhood bar. We have a full cocktail menu. We have 140 cans and drafts, full kitchen. Our neighbors are some really, really fantastic higher end cocktail bars. We're very close with them. It's not competition, but we are doing very well. Yeah. Granted, we started at a very low point. So,
just go up from there.
Right. But bars are, in my opinion, bars and restaurants are going to always be needed. It's just like, what capacity are they going to be needed in? And I think it's hard for people, but you have to stay very flexible. And I think we were lucky in a way with COVID that we had an idea of who we wanted to be, but we didn't have hard and set rules about what we were going to be. And then a lot of people that have been in operation for 20 years have their systems. And so pivoting, which I hate that word, or being flexible was really hard because you're like, no, we know this works. We don't want to change it. Where we were like figuring out what worked. Yeah. And so my staff is always really flexible still because we kind of were brought up on that we had to stay flexible. So that's what we keep doing. And we just make sure as things change, our non-alc menu is super robust. Our bread and butter is events. We do a lot of fundraisers. We really focus on like hyper local community things. We have a very strong queer community that, comes into the bar. So while things are definitely different, people are still looking for the interaction and the community. So I think it's about providing that. It's a little bit harder, I think, for restaurants to provide a event-based community.
Yeah, of course.
Because you're supposed to be serving food. And we're really a bar that has food, not a restaurant with a bar. Yeah. So I think we're kind of positioned really lucky that we can be a community space or we can be a restaurant or we can be a bar. Not everybody has that.
I want to get back to the point I'm talking about, like becoming a community space, because I feel like I keep hearing that it's so important, especially for like the longevity of a small business, is being part of the community where people go, local groups host events. But before that, I want to get back to the menu. You mentioned how many bottles and cans and what you have on draft. Like, what are people drinking? Alcohol. And then I'll talk about non-alcoholic. Like, what are you seeing people drink these days?
Well, the bar I started managing at in the Lower East Side was a beer bar. So that's why we have such a huge beer menu, which I will never, ever do again because our inventory is horrible. But when I started bartending in the city years ago, it was like double IPAs, hazy, sours, high ABV imperial stouts. Now it's like crushable, sessionable, lots of non-alc. There's definitely been a pushback to classics in a way. And I think COVID did that. Negronis, martinis, boulevardiers, stuff like that. There's definitely still room for really fancy, cool, creative cocktails. But I think there's a comfort in people knowing that they can go in and just get something they know, which is why people have really moved back to the classics. So like we try to do little riffs on classic, but still things that are identifiable. I think a lot of regular customers walk into some bars and they're like, I don't know what that is.
Yeah.
And where I'm like, bring it on. I want to try it. People just want familiar.
Yeah, something they're comfortable with. And, people can also be intimidated if they're just going out to relax. The last thing they want is something that's going to intimidate them.
Right. And if the bar is slammed, the ability of the bartender that would normally probably break that cocktail down and explain it, it's not really there. Yeah. So
how much the economy, this is another thing that comes up with like people drinking less. I think about especially like the younger generation. There's no doubt that COVID, really just screwed up so many things. But like how much just the economy, like even at a neighborhood bar, right? It can be, more expensive than it used to be, to go out. Do you see that has any effect on your customers purchasing? Or do you think you're still like a neighborhood bar and you're at a price point that's approachable?
It's definitely affected us because things keep going up and you're trying not to shock your guests.
Yeah.
So how we've really handled it is keeping our happy hour and like our food specials very affordable.
Okay.
Because a bulk of our happy hour, we have like 6 schools around us. We're near the courts. So like the Brooklyn DA's office come in, Brooklyn Law School. So we have a lot of students and like they are looking for a deal.
Yeah.
So happy hours, our food specials, we really haven't, I've upped them a little bit, but our standard, like our specialty cocktail menu has gone up. Our regular food menu has gone up. We have been hyper aware of waste. Like we use the orange peel for our old fashions. And then to get a second life, we then take that whole orange and we slice it and we throw it in our dehydrator. And now I have dried citrus to garnish a different cocktail. And a lot of people are like, that seems like a lot of work. I'm like, it is. But when you look at the price of buying dried citrus on top of throwing away an entire orange. And it's just responsible to do.
Yeah, and it's also, I think people like that. And for the people that care, like knowing that you're doing that in-house, I think also adds something to the kind of character or the authenticity of a place. Even if it's not in your face, there's sometimes understated things.
And I think my staff sometimes hate me and my fiance definitely hates me because I hate throwing things away. It doesn't mean I hoard them, but I just always want to find a way to repurpose stuff. And sometimes I sit on things too long because I'm like, I can't let this go. We can't waste it. But in the end, it's like, it's good all around. And it really does, especially when your margins are 3%, for bars and restaurants.
I mean, that's like, crazy. I think if you just even repeat that,
3%.
And that's if you're making money. A lot of people are not making money. So that's a place that's busy, that's doing well, that's doing all of these things to try to control your expenses at 3%.
And that's why people are like, oh, we're talking pennies. And I'm like, right. But if it's 500,000 pennies, it's so, it's, people just don't realize how much those tiny little things are like, oh, you're nickel and diming. I'm like, yeah, I have to.
I need a lot more nickels and dimes to pay the rent, to pay my labor costs, to pay my insurance, to pay the list goes on.
Yeah, and pennies are going away now.
Yeah,
so.
I know, exactly. Now you got to round up or round down and deal with customers who are
we're not allowed to round down. We have to round up. So then you lose. Then you lose those 3 cents because you're rounding up to 5 cents and maybe it was 1 cent. And this is like all of the things people don't think about that end up being a lot of money.
Yeah. Absolutely. So what about on the NA, non-alcoholic front or low ABV? You're saying you're seeing a lot of that. Did you get a sense, and I don't know how much because you're behind the bar, you're like interacting with people about it, but like, is it mostly people who just are not drinking and they want to go out and now they have like an option that's more than, just a Diet Coke or a seltzer and they have a quality NA drink, or people like having one alcoholic drink, but then switching over to NA? Like, do you have a sense of?
I think it's both.
Yeah.
There are a lot of people. I mean, I've been bartending since I I mean, my first time behind the bar, I was 17 in Florida. So are we surprised?
Yeah.
Which is not legal. The bartender called out and they're like, open
We need
bottles.
someone.
I've been doing this a long time. I'm going to be 40 this year. And so a lot of bartenders that I know have gone sober completely, but people still want that human connection.
Yeah.
And, you know, in New York where you don't have a living room and bars are your living room, you still want to go out with your friends.
Yeah.
But I'm a person that like, I need to do something with my hands at all times, which means I need a drink in my hand at all times and means I'm probably doing this at all times. So having something to do this with when you're a person that's constantly needing to move is good. And, you know, I had an ex that was sober that we'd go out and he'd be like, I guess it's club soda again.
Yeah.
So there's both people wanting to pepper in and out and people that just want non-alc.
Listen, I'm always out. I don't drink anymore. And I will say, just having so many incredible NA options has completely changed the experience. Like, I remember being out, it's like, oh, a seltzer, like a Diet Coke, you know, it's okay for one, maybe two, but now you can actually like sit down or stand up and, you know, obviously the quality of what you're drinking, but also there's just something about the social ability about it. Like, I don't even know, it's difficult to put words to it, but like if you're standing around a bar and you are drinking like a NA beer or a Phony Negroni or anything, the interaction experience is somehow different than if you're just like standing there with a glass of water.
Yeah. I mean, well, I think that's where glassware comes in too, where
totally, yes, very
you know,
much
you're
so.
drinking a Coke out of a, you know, pint glass and it's like, then you have a cocktail that's in a Collins glass or something fancier. And it just leans into that inclusivity of no one's asking you. No one's like, what are you drinking? Or maybe they are. And you're like, oh, I'm drinking the so-and-so. But you didn't say, well, there's ritual tequila in here that's non-alcoholic. No one's like deep diving into that. They just see you having a drink with them. Not that anyone should be shamed for drinking water or Coke.
No,
who really
that's totally
cares?
fine. But it's like
just
whatever you want. But I think just like the overall experience and like having, you know, the options, and I think the presence and the availability of NA that's, you know, quality, puts a lot of people at ease. I mean, even talking about like, you know, sober bartenders, I feel like that's a superpower. You know what I mean? That really is, you know, an incredible, you know, strength and ability. It's not easy, but it's...
The company that I worked for in the city, which is, you know, funny because someone on our board was my old boss. We weren't allowed to drink behind the bar. And I kind of love that because you're the one responsible for keeping people safe and being in charge. And we just didn't really do it. And so I've never been a person to like rip shots behind the bar with guests. Like, granted, everyone has a night where it's like my last night of bartending at my old place before I opened someday. I definitely had drinks behind the bar. But that's because I had two other bartenders supporting me, knowing what kind of night it was. I mean, in the very least, like I'll do a shot of like Averna because it's low ABV. But I don't like being out of control behind the bar. And it's not me in ownership saying that. That's me always. Yeah. That's just like a personal
The other night
opinion.
I was talking with a mutual friend. I won't say her name, but I'm sure she wouldn't care if I did. But she was saying when she owned her bar, you know, she would take shots with people at the beginning of the night, but then she would actually make something that was NA that looked like a shot. So as the night went on, she would like throw it back with guests of the bar. So she would be like interacting in that excitement and that like social aspect of it. But, you know.
Well, now we have my bartenders love Pathfinder, which is a non-alc, and we have a bottle of that behind the bar, and it's basically like a non-alc Amaro, and most of them will just take shots of Pathfinder. Yeah,
it's cool. Well, it's like there's a ceremonial aspect, right? The sociability about everything that's more than just like the alcohol itself. All right. You were talking about being near the schools and the courts and those folks being, you know, great customers at Someday Bar. Did they just kind of find it? Have you done anything to like really go and market to them? Because, you know, everyone's looking for the local people. You know, I hear a lot. This is maybe more of like a kind of Manhattan thing, but downtown Brooklyn too, where maybe there's more office buildings in the past, and like afterwards the boss would come out and like, you know, throw down the company credit card for happy hour, and like there's still some of that, but a lot less than that. So like they're really trying to focus on getting people out. Or some of these companies have like these great, cafeterias inside, all these different things. Anyways, have you directly marketed to these people? Or like, how did you get them to be
no
fans?
And I probably should have, but when the world reopened, it was just more like, all right, we have to get back on track. And I do a lot, but I didn't go to college for marketing. I was actually a psychology major.
That makes sense. There's a connection there. I see.
But I know how to fix a toilet and rewire a neon. I hate social media because it's stressful and marketing is overwhelming and SEO. So I'd love to say that I marketed to them, but I think we just got lucky. And, we kept hearing like, you guys have the best happy hour in the neighborhood. And that's kind of why I've also stuck to keeping our happy hour super affordable, because that's what we're known for. But then also people stay. So 7:00 hits, happy hour is over. Sometimes you have the mass exodus and then other times you don't. And there's something about a busy bar, which I've never understood, because when I see an empty bar, I'm like, yes. Yeah. And I go straight to the bar.
Well, maybe because you're around it all. You're around it all the time.
I know. But there's something about people walking by and seeing a busy bar and being like, I want to be in there. So, 7:00 hits, and maybe we do have a mass exodus of a lot of our teachers. But then you have people that are walking by and like, that bar is busy. I want to know why it's busy. I want to be in there. So it attracts more people in. I just think it was kind of word of mouth. A thing that I am extremely proud of, and my one bartender is extremely proud of. He's like, we're the fastest bar in downtown Brooklyn. And my bartenders are built for speed, because that's, the bar that I was at was next to the Bowery Ballroom. So I've really imparted on move and talk at the same time. And everybody has really understood the assignment, and we get really busy and we crush. And a lot of people are really grateful for not having to wait. Yeah. So we're very proud of that. I think our speed and our affordability is why people come to us for happy hour. Yeah.
What about like engagement? Like, what about training? Like, obviously, which I want to get into, you going from like, bartender to owning a bar while still bartending. But like, is there any specific training that you do? There's so much talk in just the hospitality industry. It's like, you can teach people service and the technical aspects, but you can't teach people necessarily how to be people.
Yes. Yeah. No,
so like, what do you do when it comes to being a bartender yourself, going out to bars and then owning a bar? Like in your hiring, are there specific traits that you look for in people? Are there certain kind of coaching you do, which if you're behind the bar with them, sometimes you're just kind of like leading by example, which I think is important. But have you, it's tough in a small business to like kind of like institutionalize training programs per se, but what do you do?
So my old boss, at the bar on the Lower East Side was the one who like pushed me to do this. And he was the best mentor ever. And he hates it. He's always like, oh, shut up, whatever. You wanted to learn. I'm like, yeah, but you wanted to teach.
You want to shout him out, or is he?
He'd probably kill me.
Okay, don't do
it. But he's going to be my partner in this new bar that we're trying to open if it ever happens. But, he said something one day and he's like, you can invest money into product and you can invest money into a building, but they don't really pay you back. And so you really need to invest in people. And I'm still a person, even though I'm an owner. Yeah. And it feels nice to be heard and to be treated like a person. Yeah. And so I think when it comes to retention, it's like really about making sure that people feel heard and seen. And it's not always easy. And in the world that we live in today, it's like, it's a hard line to walk. Yeah. Just because of, lawsuits and all the things. You're like, you don't want to love someone too much and then you don't want to love them too little, and you're trying to figure out like where that line is. Yeah. But the way that I motivate people to do their job is to be good to them. Yeah. And does it always work? Absolutely not. And those people tend to weed themselves out, but we have most of my staff is, my longest running staff member is, I think, 6 years, and we're 7. Next up is like 5 years. And we have a lot of longevity. We have a lot of people that want to come in and work for us. And that's a very big compliment. But I think it's just about, as ownership or leadership, whether it's your manager, it's like willing to get dirty with next to your staff and leading by example. I used to think that the honor code worked. I'm not going to lie, it doesn't. Yeah. Sometimes it does, but having a really good systems, really good communication. We're opening checklists, closing checklists. I thought that people just do it. People there's a lot going on in the world. Yeah. So remembering everything is hard. So it's like giving people the right tools so they don't feel like they're on an island.
And I think accountability, right? Like if people, it's easy to presume that people that, you think people know what you expect. But I guess if you don't make that known, and especially in the thing with a bar, like opening and closing checklists, like that makes it a lot easier than if you're just like, oh, they'll know what to do.
Well, and I think, it's really easy, especially because I'm there so much, when something doesn't get done, to like take it personally, like they don't love me enough to do their job, which is not the case. Like people just have, the world's a little crazy right now, and there's a lot of stuff flying at everybody, not at work. So trying to keep it in mind that like nothing's ever malicious, and I think a lot of people are reactive. I was a very reactive manager when I first started because I'd never done it before. And now it's like I really try to impart on people like, don't take it personally, because usually it's not. It's usually never malicious. It's like, oh, I forgot. And it's also when people are annoyed at each other behind the bar, I'm like, hey, so they didn't do silverware yesterday. You didn't do a beer pool last week. Yeah. So until you're perfect, like go to them. They're your coworker, be like, you didn't do it. Or if it's a consistent problem, come to me. But just realize that you're also probably not doing everything that somebody else wants you to do. And it's about strengths and weaknesses. Like one of my bartenders is so fast, and he's going to know who I'm talking about as soon as he watches this, if he does. He's such a messy bartender. And people get frustrated. I'm like, but he puts butts and seats and he keeps them there. Whereas other people are like wildly organized and clean. And that is their,
Yeah. Well, it's finding the right
word I'm looking
balance,
for.
right? You're the bartender, but you're also like the conductor of it all, and having the right people in the right places doing the different things.
But also, everyone's not going to be great at everything. I'm not great at everything. So it's finding what people are good at, empowering them to do those good things, and then reminding those around them that the things they're not good at, that they can cover.
Yeah. What, when you became an owner, if you can, I mean, I know you opened during the pandemic, so that's just kind of crazy.
Hear my deep breaths. I'm like,
but were there any things like you didn't expect were going to be so challenging being an owner, putting aside just like the pandemic, if that's possible, like just like even today, just kind of day to day that you didn't necessarily think you were going to have to constantly be dealing with?
I mean, I didn't think I was going to have to be a professional at fixing things. That was a thing I didn't realize. When you start looking at the cost of stuff, though, it's like paying a plumber every time something breaks. You're like, I'm going to figure this out on my own. I think COVID led to this, but I think in general, this is a theme I hear about across the industry, is like work-life balance. Yeah. I definitely was conditioned to be at work all the time because of COVID. Like if I didn't show up, the bar was going to close. But I think I probably would have been like that anyways. Yeah. And I talked to so many other owners, like, how do you separate in an industry where it's so focused on being available?
Yeah,
and it's not a 9 to 5.
Nights, weekends, holidays. And
where is that boundary? And I've been doing this for a long enough time now that I can tell you that I'm still struggling with that boundary, and like when to make myself available and when to not, and acknowledging that when I don't make myself available for people, it's not because I'm letting someone down or failing. It's because I need the break. But this industry in general is built on, I used to brag. I did 16 hours yesterday behind the bar, and then I closed, and then I did it. I had to open at 9 a.m. And I used to be proud of that, like a badge of honor. That was a real
badge of honor, I was going to say. And it started change. I mean, obviously it's still there, but it's definitely changed. I think there's so much more talk about this work-life balance. And,
I think it needs to be talked about. I think that there is a balance. I'm always worried about the overcorrection, because I feel like in general, when something is, not good, then we swing so far to the other side instead of like trying to figure out the middle.
Everything in moderation, even moderation.
Yeah. Well, it's like, I'm not gonna work for 16 hours. All right. Yeah. Okay. Fair. But then we've kind of, for a little bit, we swung to, well, that doesn't work for me. I'm not working that day. Yeah. And it's like, okay, but you want a job, or I want more money, but I don't want to work more hours. And I'm like, I don't know how to solve this problem for you. So, meeting back in that middle. But I think that's the thing that I just didn't really anticipate how hard it was going to be to separate.
So have you done, it's obviously you've thought about it, but have you done any like deep dive into your soul and
I bought a house in Beacon 2 hours away from New York City.
And is that the idea? I mean, is that the focus of how you're going to try to separate the two? But is there anything like...
Yeah, I mean, I've realized that unless I'm physically away from the building, it's in my nature to jump in. And the thing is my staff are completely capable. This isn't a thing where I don't trust them, but it's just a thing I'm like, oh, I can do it and I can help and I can do this. And it's like, but they can also do it. Yeah, I've got to figure it out. I've definitely tried to put in systems to keep myself like, you know, if I have a day where I know I have stuff to do, could I go to the bar to do it at the bar? Sure. Could I do it from home?
Yeah.
I should do it from home.
Yeah.
Whereas old Megan would be like, I'm just going to go to the bar and get it done. And then I'll come home. And it's like, but I didn't need to. Because then I end up finding like 7,000 more things I need to get done. Of course.
And then you're there. And how can you not look around? And then something comes up that someone else could take care of, but you're there. So why don't I just do it? You know?
Yeah. I mean, I'm going to start hitting up people on the Alliance board that have multiple restaurants and be like, I need you to mentor me in how to separate. Well,
that's one of the things that we're trying to do is talking about doing some mentoring. But I mean, you're very unique in the sense that it's not just trying to find like your work-life balance. One of the things that you are incredible about, you know, I always say, you know, don't talk about it, be about it. You have really become an advocate. Yep. I mean, everybody is crazy busy, as you've just said, but like you make time to show up to New York City Hospitality Alliance board meetings, you're on other organization boards, meetings at City Hall, testifying at City Hall. I guess one, why do you make time for it? And two, what is your experience being involved as an advocate trying to make it easier to run a bar been?
So I do it because it's the right thing to do.
But not everybody, like, I mean, honestly, there's a lot of people in the industry that do a lot, but like, there's also a lot of people that don't, and they just kind of keep their head down, and not because they don't care, but they kind of like keep their head down, run their business. They're frustrated by stuff. They may be happy that there's other people like you and the Hospitality Alliance out there advocating for them. But like you made a conscious decision not to show up once, like you're constantly advocating.
Well, we were talking about this before we started filming, but you know, how I met you was I co-founded this thing during COVID called Save NYC Bars. And it was like explaining to our customers that, you know, sitting outside in our one of 3 outdoor dining tables for 2 hours with 1 beer isn't going to save us. You know, in the past, you know, nobody talked about margins with customers. There's not this understanding of like, hey, we're barely hanging on. They see you busy and they're like, you're going to make it.
Yeah.
And then bars close and they're so confused why that happened. Mm-hmm. And so we talked about pulling back the curtain. And my co-founder, Joanna Carpenter, didn't own a bar, but has been in the industry forever. And she's like, no one cares what I'm saying. You have to talk. And I was very much that person that was like, want to show up, take care of my people, go home. I really didn't want to be on camera. 7 years ago, this would not be happening. And
now you're like a soldier on the front lines.
I know. Now I don't even, it's funny. You're like, what are we talking about today? I was like, I don't know. I guess we're just winging it. And 7 years ago, I would have been having a panic attack in the bathroom. So, you know, she really pushed me into it. And there is a selfish aspect in a way where it's like, it's good for my business. That's kind of why it started, where I was like, you know, no one's helping me. And I was screaming at the walls and the walls weren't screaming back. So I was like, well, politicians sometimes can be like walls, not all of them. So maybe it'll just be the same thing. And I just saw the value in it. And there's a personal incentivization where like I feel good about myself because A, I know it's the right thing to do and hopefully it's helping people. But on the other side of it, I think a lot of people always just assume that somebody else is handling it. Yeah. And during COVID, I very much realized that nobody was really handling it. Like, not nobody, but you would think
I know what you mean.
Larger groups of people would really be jumping in to change things. And when you start realizing that they aren't, you have this like oh shit moment where you're
Yeah.
like, all right, well, everyone's just like, oh, someone else has it.
Yeah.
And nobody really does.
That's why I always say, like, everybody needs to be united and needs to be working together all the time. It's like everyone has different interests and everyone's yelling and screaming about what it is that they need, what they want, what they like, what they don't like. And it's the people that are coordinated, that are strategic, and that push hard, that end up having their voices heard. And I always say it, like, when you look around, especially in New York, bars, restaurants, it's just so important to everything about New York City. And we need to be able to amplify that vitality as a political force. So it's so good to have someone like you on the front lines with us. And I'm grateful for it because you're a rock star. And one of the things we've been obviously working at is making reforms to the outdoor dining law to cut the red tape and the expenses, because it's really been, problematic, in many cases cost prohibitive for a lot of smaller bars and restaurants to participate. And we worked with you and testified at a city council hearing, and you gave such an incredibly crisp and clear explanation of how much outdoor dining is costing your bar. So can you share that with me? Because I feel like it just hits the point home.
Well, I think from what I've also realized in advocacy, like you said, these council people, these assembly people have so many people yelling in their direction and information flying at them. And it's really easy to be like, everyone says that the rent's too damn high and New York City's too expensive. And it's just, so when you're like, outdoor dining's too expensive, all they're hearing is it's too expensive. Yeah. And it's really easy for someone just to be like, yeah, everything's expensive in the city, and really like just kind of shut down. Mm-hmm. And so I just had this thought, it's like making it digestible to really understand what too expensive means in numbers. And, I talked about keeping our happy hour affordable. So we did the numbers, and let me just go through all of my talk to text.
And
this
is for you to pay for outdoor dining.
Yeah. Okay. So this is the 4 years. And I actually realized too that I didn't factor in the yearly revocable consent fee. So my numbers are actually a little bit lower than they should be. But I have 6 sidewalk seats. I think I have 16 street seats. My build was almost $25,000 initially. We did a lot of things that we can reuse, the water barriers. We had tiles or wood boards that we reuse every year. But then the revocable consent fee, paying the comptroller, paying DOT, getting my hatch certified, paying my lawyer, getting the drawings, all this stuff ended up being, that stuff was $36,948.36. Every year it's $8 to $10K to rebuild. It's actually more. This year is going to be 12 to 15 because of the price of lumber. So in total, again, these numbers are actually lower. $68,948.26 per year is going to cost me $17,237.09. So let's just like round that up to $20,000 a year. Based on my old numbers, though, I have to sell $2,872 $6 cocktails. I have to sell 907 burgers, 5,745 $3 hot dogs or tacos, which are our specials that we have, 1,149 $15 cocktails. That is just to break even. I had to buy new patio furniture this year. That's not factored in. The cost of labor is not factored in. What happens if it rains and we aren't making money on those days? Also, breaking down and having a junk hauler, that's $1,000 to $2,000 every year. So there's all of these extras. And everyone's like, oh, did you look into the removable storage containers? Yeah. The quote that I got for 4 years was $86,000 with a $35,000 deposit. They said that they would not paint it and they would make it $75,000 instead.
Yeah. So completely like out of reach.
Out of reach.
Two, I guess you're doing it now, but you'll end up seeing if you even make money, you could potentially lose money. And then there's all the headaches that go along with it.
Yeah. And there's like the compliance issues. We spoke at a round table with the mayor's office and, they're talking about changing outdoor dining. I'm like, that's so great. But is this going to be like it was in the past where in July you change, the program and maybe you change it for the positive and we get better clearance, but everybody's built. Nobody's breaking down for that extra 3 feet. So it's like, it would have been great if this had been done before the start of outdoor dining season. I just think that while the intentions are good, there's just some misunderstanding of what's actually needed. And it's not, let's make the program better, but let's not make the program better in the middle of the program.
Well, I think the good news is that there seems to be support from the mayor's office and city council to make sensible reforms to outdoor dining. But now it's kind of the political will for our government leaders to actually get things done. It's easy to sometimes say things and it can be more difficult to go through those processes and getting them done and then getting them done in a way that they ultimately help.
I think that's, you had asked me a question about advocacy and I think there's a lot of positives. I think the other maybe negative of the whole advocacy thing is you really see the man behind the curtain and you see the way things work.
Or don't.
I think that's, And it gets to be really disheartening at some points. Like there are days that I've definitely, spoken out or been on emails and it's just like I get off and I'm emotionally drained. I'm obviously not getting paid for it. I'm not saying that I expect payment, but it's just like, and then you're emotionally wrecked and then you're like, what did I just do that for? The needle hasn't even moved. And then you'll have days where you're like, the needle moved and you feel so good. But it's like those down days are really hard to keep doing it because you're like, all of the red tape and all of the stuff. And then you're like, I got one guy on my side and then there's like 37 other guys that need to be on your side to get the needle to move.
Well, it's a lot of patience. It's a lot of, strength just to kind of persevere. And maybe that's one of the reasons that, people don't even kind of get into the advocacy side because it's not easy and it does take so much time and things often, unfortunately, even what may seem like a common sense change or something that should be so easy, there can be all these technical reasons, legal reasons, political reasons why they just don't so quickly and easily happen, even when they seem so obvious.
At the risk of sounding like Dave Rickerson, common sense isn't common.
Yes,
I'm like, that's my father.
Yep. Yeah. Common sense is the least common of all senses. It's a good quote. So what do you think elected officials and government officials in general should know, from like a small business owner perspective, from a bar owner's perspective? Like, what is it that you'd want to leave with them as something they could understand and take to heart and hopefully implement in the way they do their lawmaking?
I think the big one right now is, this $30 minimum wage and elimination of the tip credit is weighing heavily on a lot of people. Our mayor's talking a ton about affordability. But it feels like I'm feeling a little scapegoated and like, the rich bar owner doesn't want to pay her staff well. And she's against the $30 minimum wage. And it's because she wants to keep all the money. And there's this narrative that, I'm sitting behind the curtain, like counting my hundreds, which I am definitely not. You go into the industry because you love it. You usually go into the industry because you love people and you want to take care of people. I would say that you could go into my bar and ask my staff how I feel about them. And they would say that I go above and beyond and care about them, which I confidently can say that they would say that. So this narrative of like, the evil business owner behind the curtain counting your money because you don't want a $30 minimum wage, it really comes down to, I don't want it because I can't sustain it. Yeah. If you're not going to regulate liability insurance, liquor liability, if you're not going to regulate rent, if you're not going to regulate commercial taxes, property taxes, and all of these things, everybody has their hand out at all times. Donate to my fundraiser. We're a 501c3. That's great. It's still money out the door. Yep. Everybody's always asking for something. And now it's like $30 and limiting the tip credit. most of my staff is queer, an immigrant, and a woman. And our mayor is like, we want to protect these demographics. And that's exactly what I'm doing. But if you make it unsustainable to operate, I can't protect them because I can't employ them because I can't stay open.
Yeah.
If you regulate insurance and hold people accountable I've never had a claim in 7.5 years and my insurance has tripled.
Yeah.
If I didn't pay that, $30 minimum wage wouldn't be a problem.
Mm.
I could put money toward things that mattered instead of into the pockets of insurance companies.
And I think even tying it back to what you said, affordability, like for your teachers, for the nurses, for everyday folks who just want to go out, for you, just like going out, what it would do to increase prices and make it, even more unaffordable for a lot of people just to go out and have a drink, to have a bite to eat, to socialize. And I feel like sometimes just like that social experience that happens at a restaurant or bar is sometimes just discussed separate from the affordability. Affordability is so much on rent, which obviously is a huge issue, but just the day-to-day experience of living in New York City. And one of the main reasons so many people want to be here is for our hospitality. And it's already very expensive to go out, even to what should be a casual location because of all the expenses. And that's something that needs to be reckoned with as part of this discussion.
Yeah. I mean, when this all started coming out, I'm on a bunch of ownership email chains and a lot of people on those emails were like, God, do they want us to fire everybody and just get iPads? Is that what they want? And nobody wants that. No one's like, yay, can't wait to have AI in my bar, because that's not what it's about. But people are, when things get hard, you have to make hard decisions. And if you're going to close, if you keep every single one of your staff members on, what are you going to do? Say, I'm going down with the ship. I won't do iPads. No, people are going to do iPads. People are going to do order by phone, and you're going to lose the human interaction. And then all the people that you wanted to protect by raising the minimum wage are now going to be on the unemployment line. And it's like, how do we, again, it's the pendulum, right? It's the, all right, well, we did this for so long, bad. And now we're going to go all the way here. And it's like, why can't we be here?
Well, and that's what part of the minimum wage negotiation was, to increase it to where it is now and then index it annually to inflation. So at least it's tied to some economic factor versus the political whims that happen every 5 or so years that are really based on politics, not economics. All right. So you're always in the bar. Although you're trying to get better at like spending some time away.
Well, with the new project, I have to learn how to not be there.
Do you get out to other bars and restaurants at all?
For sure. I mean,
when you go out, what do you, as like a bar owner, are there specific things that can you just go out and just chill and relax and have your own time? Or are you always kind of looking at what other places are doing? Are you kind of in reconnaissance mode?
Both. I go out a lot in my neighborhood because I don't get a lot of days off. So somewhere I can walk to. Yeah. Or I go out in the bar because Borum Hill has some nice little bars. We're all very friendly. Grand Army is our closest neighbor. We love them. So I go out. You're never not working. Yeah. I mean, Andrew, you're a vampire. I don't think that you sleep. You're never not working, and I'm never not working. So I go out. I have a good time. I try to really go to places that my friends are at so I can support them because I don't see a lot of my friends often. But you're always looking at the menu. You're always like in the bathroom being like, oh my God, what sink is this? Like, oh, where is this tile from? And, you're evaluating how people are doing things. I love going out to places and see bartenders slammed and crushing it. Yeah. I'm the most patient. I will be patient forever if you are slammed and working so hard. I'm a little bit less patient when I see you on your cell phone and there's like 17 people waiting on drinks. I'm not going to say anything. I'm just going to sit there quietly and probably never come back. But like, I love watching other bartenders like in their element and just crushing it because you're like, look how fast you are. Yeah. You're like silently cheering from behind the sidelines. But I don't think anyone in this industry ever turns it off.
I know. It's tough. We need
it's like
that.
When you're a bartender and you have the bartending dreams that you're, in the Bear when the Grubhub machine. So many like service dreams where you're like, I'm going to I'm going to dream about something nice tonight. And you're like, nope, I'm just dreaming about getting my ass kicked on service bar. So,
one of the things we're talking about is like, someone comes into the bar, for a first time. And, it's very difficult for any bar restaurant to survive just on first-time customers. But you also talk a lot about building community for the queer community, for the teachers, for the nurses, where it's kind of like a home away from home. So what have you done and what do you continue to do to kind of build that community and turn those first-time guests into, repeat guests that feel like, your bar is an extension of their living room?
So, when we opened the bar, I had these ideas of what it was going to be. And then I'm not going to say it's like a far cry from what I thought it was going to be, but like it's definitely different. And, we started doing a ton of queer events because during COVID, we had a fundraiser during Pride where like we had queer artists performing. We did tickets. It went back to paying for, paying them because so many artists are bartenders. And it's like Pride was about actually not just like throwing up a flag, but actually doing something that supported the community. And all we kept hearing is there's nothing like this in downtown Brooklyn. There's no, queer adjacent. Obviously, like I'm a straight woman, so I don't own a gay bar, or my drag queens would say differently. But I'm like, it's about really listening to what your neighborhood and community needs and not letting your ego get in the way of, well, I wanted to have this type of bar. And it's like kind of letting the bar speak for itself and turn into what it's meant to be. And I think probably as ownership, sometimes people get very hyper fixated on what they want as opposed to like what's needed or what people want. And it's like, you can build a bar that you want, but if nobody else wants it, you're not going to be open for very long. So like really listening to what people want. I serve on my bid. I really made a point to show up to things. Our neighbor was building on Bond. They were closed because of, during COVID, and the landlord was horrible. And so, they did a news thing, and I showed up and I was like, this is one of the first times I ever spoken about, supporting neighbors. And it really kind of snowballed from there. And people always ask me how to get involved. And I'm like, you just have to keep showing up. And eventually someone's going to be like, I see you here so much. I think people get discouraged when they show up to something like, I didn't get acknowledged, or I don't feel like I did anything. And sometimes it takes a lot of showing up for things to really start clicking. But then once you do, it's like, people start showing up for you. So, I show up to these community board meetings and all these things, and then you start seeing the same faces, and then people are telling other people. Yeah. And then that's how you really get community in. When somebody new on your block opens, we had a cafe sandwich shop and they were building out, and I was like, hi, I'm your neighbor and don't want to bother you. And they came in a couple weeks later, like, yeah, nobody else has stopped in. I'm like, no one has stopped in, not one person. And it's just really about continually showing up. And
show up for others and they show up for you.
Yeah.
And being out there, you meet new people and say, oh, I own this bar. And they come in and it's the experience. And I like what you said about, you may think what you want your bar to be, but, it's often your guests that really are the ones that bring it to life, and being open enough to kind of let it evolve in a way.
You have to be a good listener.
Yeah.
And if you're a bartender, you're probably a good listener.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's exhausting to continually have to show up, but it doesn't pay back immediately. I can tell you that. But once you start seeing the payback, and I'm not necessarily always saying monetarily, but like the social payback and the emotional payback, and to hear someone be like, yeah, the thing that you did really resonated with me or helped me, it is worth it. It's just, I think in the world that we live in today, a lot of people kind of expect instant gratification sometimes. And I've learned that you have to be very patient. And it's not always going to be immediate.
It takes time to build community, but you become a community gathering place, and that's why people come back.
And it also can't be inauthentic.
Yeah.
People can smell that shit from far away. If you're like, out there shaking hands and kissing babies, but you don't care, people can tell. You need to care.
Yeah. All right. Last thing, not bar related, dog related.
Okay.
You love dogs.
I love animals, but okay. Yeah, we have 2 dogs. We just adopted a puppy.
Name?
Shredder,
I like
Ninja
that.
Turtles.
I was just going to
We're
ask.
80s. We're 80s babies.
Nice.
And so we have Shredder and we have Rebel. We got them both from Social Teas, which is a foster group that's based in the East Village. That the way I know them is they were regulars at my bar in the Lower East Side for years. And we do fundraisers for them, for Badass adoption group at the bar a lot because
I love the foot. They're so adorable.
They're so freaking cute.
What is it about animals but dogs that just
unconditional love?
Yeah.
And like, listen, I told you I like people. I like dogs way better.
Yeah.
Dogs are way better than people. They are. I don't know. I mean, and they're just cute and they talk back a little bit, but not the way people do.
Yeah.
Just like the unconditional love.
I know.
You know?
Yeah.
It's like a drug.
Is it like a little bit of a break from work? Do you ever get like, because they're therapeutic in a way too.
Yeah, my new puppy has some medical issues.
Okay. Oh.
So I can't say that has necessarily been a break as of yet.
Okay.
But you can't be mad at him because he's just so damn cute.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's the serotonin hit.
Yeah.
From petting a dog. And, you know, we have outdoor dining. So we have, you know, dog bowls, water bowls, and we have bones. And again, we're like people's living rooms.
That is true.
So
Megan Rickerson of Someday Bar, the bartender, the bar owner,
dog lover,
animal lover, advocate. She does a lot.
Mood ring hair.
Inspiration for my daughter.
Oh,
I'll
yeah.
have to show her. I know. You're the best. Thank you for all you do for our industry. This is Hospitality and Politics. I'm Andrew Ridgie. Thanks for tuning in.
Bye.